Jerry, video games are the latest craze to sweep the country and most of the world, too. Millions of people are addicted to hours of gazing at electronic images on game screens in arcades and in their own homes. What makes video games so popular? Well, we search for an answer as we begin a special series on Video Fever, games people play.
I think the fondness we pass are very much what attracts people to the arcades. I think it's definitely that nostalgia buzz. People do very much seem to feel like the world doesn't quite make sense anymore. Whether it ever did is debatable, but there is something very comforting about the fact that arcades are almost like this time capsule that you can step into.
I think when we were younger, people would always talk about what would the future be like and whatnot. And it's, you look at what's we've gone back to the future. You would in 2018 or whatever it was, we'd have flying cars and stuff. And people realise the future is not as well what they wanted it to be or what they intended it to be. And I think people are escaping back because life was probably better then. It was probably more simple then. I think from a societal point of view, where it's sad to say, but I think we're more closed off. We like to associate by phone instead of, going out and seeing people. Like we said before, you can sort of game in your pajamas now, and people are quite happy to do that rather than, get together, organise a day out where they can go somewhere like arcade gaming.
If we're being honest, the games, even in a modern arcade, as I say, are actually quite basic when you get down to the nuts and bolts. So it's clearly not for the appeal of playing the actual games we had available that people were coming for. I think they were coming for the culture, and the games were the kind of focal point for that culture. The culture of returning cinematography seems to ebb and flow, and that suggests to me that it's quite a healthy, natural thing. I know when I started in my first season at the arcade, a lot of the old hands were saying that things had been slow but were on the uptick, and that just seems to be the natural rhythm that it's settled into, that it becomes nostalgia and then it becomes cliche and then nostalgia again. As impressive as video games are, always constantly improving, they're going to peak. There is going to be a point where we've levelled out, and the appeal of the arcade lies not in those technological advancements, but in the cultural aspect of it, and I don't think that will ever go away. If anything, I think the more that video games in the home advance, the more the appeal of the arcade is solidified almost.
I think once people like myself have reached an age where we can't go, our generation of people probably fizzle out, if that's the right word to use. I think people will be more nostalgic towards this era. I think people I look at kids my nephew's age, and they're on Switch and they're on PlayStation and whatnot, and obviously in 20-30 years time maybe that won't exist anymore, and that will be the arcade games of this era in a sense. I think regardless of how good life can be, I still think people will still say, well, it's nice what we have now. Like for example with gaming, it's nice what we have now, but people will still feel nostalgia, people will still feel a pull, a desire to revisit things in their past, because those things that they had in the past, those experiences that they had in the past may have had an influence on who they are today, and sometimes it's just almost like going back in the past and being thankful for that in a sense. Being thankful that what they experienced then has had a positive influence on them now. It's the illusion, I think, some people have that it's really changing, but it's not.